Hello, welcome to Level Change channel. My name is Claudio Fonseca. I'm a real-world pilot, and today we are going to talk about some system options that we have on the 737 developed by Pmdg for the Microsoft Flight Simulator. This video is part of a series of videos about all the options that we have on the 737, and because of that, I've created this document. You can download it through the video description below, and I call this document as a video list for the Pmdg 737 options. Here you will find all the options with the hyperlink to the video, and today we are going to talk about some system options, namely auto probe heat, auto ignition, cutoff switch style, pressurization panel, and window shades. So to talk about it, we go again to our simulator. We go inside the cockpit, and then we go to the CDU. Here on the CDU, you go to the menu, Pmdg setup, aircraft, equipment, and then first you go to page number 13, where you will find the third option as auto probe heat, and the options are yes or no. So you have the probe heat switches on your overhead panel. So when you go to your overhead panel here, almost on the top, on the center, you have probe heat, and you have some options for this panel and the system, how the system operates. So the first option is to have the option as auto on the top and on at the bottom, and the second option, if you take auto probe heat to no, auto probe heat to no, then you have on the probe heat the options off and on. So usually, or in the old version of this plane, when it was first released, Boeing only had the option off and on, which means that the pilots, they have to select when the probe heats are going to be off or on. Usually after engine start, the first officer was coming here and taking them to on, and then after landing was coming here and taking them to off. With the auto version of it, and in this case you need to select auto probe heat as yes. In this case, when you have the auto position, those probe heats, they will be off anytime the engines or any engine is not running, and they will be on anytime any engine is running. So there is no need anymore for the first officer to turn them on and off during the normal flight. So you take and you keep them in auto during the pre-flight. Once you start any engine, they will be automatically in the on position, even if you keep them in auto. You can see this because all these lights related to the inoperative system, they will be blanked, so you have the probe heat working. Once you finish your flight and you shut down both engines, this switch in the auto position will turn the probe heat to off. So there's no need anymore for the pilots to control the probe heat. The only option that they have is to force the system to on, that some non-normal situations will ask the pilots to do. And of course, if the auto mode fails in the off position, you have the same switch to force the system to the on position. Okay, so this is auto probe heat as yes or no. The second option that we have for today is on the page number 14, and we have on the fifth line the cutoff switch style. So we have option for new and old. You can understand from the name that these are the switches that used to come with the airplane, and we also have the new switches. So first I'm going to show you the old switches. So when we come here at the bottom, these are the fuel control switches, or what is called here in the panel cutoff switch style. So the cutoff switch or the fuel control switches, they have two options, either idle or cutoff, and you just move them up and down to choose between these two options. And this is the old style. The new style, you will see that all this panel changes, and you have here also both options as idle and cutoff. Again, idle is to the upside and cutoff is to the downside. Okay, so this changes not only these switches, but changes all this bottom part of the pedestal, including the parking brake and the light itself. So once again, if you go to the old style, you have these switches and this type of parking brake. This is the light, and the stabilizer trim is here. So if you change it, you will see that the stabilizer trim doesn't change. The only thing it changes is that is a little bit black, but they are all the same, including the switches. Another thing that is something additional in the new style is that the fuel switches, they turn on when there is a fire on the respective engine, okay? Only on the new style. So if I take here the lights to test, of course it doesn't work with the fire, but I can show you here on the fire overheat test. If I take this to fire, you will see that the lights will illuminate, in this case on both engines, just to test the fire system. As you can see now, both lights, they are illuminated. This helps the pilots on identifying when they have an engine fire, which engine they are supposed to shut down. There were incidents where the crew choose the wrong fuel control switch and they cut off the good engine instead of the engine that was on fire. So in this case, when you have a fire, once again, not only the fire switches for the engines itself, but even the fuel control switches, they will illuminate in red. So of course, usually you only have one at a time, and then you will be able to identify which one is the correct. So because of this, I prefer to keep the cutoff switch style to the new one. It will help me in case of engine fire, and is also the new model that is coming out of the factory by Boeing. Now we go to the third option, and this one we'll find in the page number 16, optional equipment 4. So the first one is auto ignition as yes or no. I'm going to show you where is the auto ignition. The auto ignition also on the overhead panel here, almost in the center. Okay, you have on the engine start, you can select the ignitors, and you have the engine start switches for the engine number 1, engine start switch for engine number 2, the left engine and the right engine. And here you will always have the ground option, the continuous option, and the flight option. And in the center, which is the standard position, you have the option for auto in this case, or if you come here and you select auto ignition to no, then you will see here on the engine start that the option is off. Once again, the initial project, it was off, like the old Boeing, the classic ones, and then the cabin crew, or sorry, the pilots, they had to manually turn the engine start switches to continuous for certain phases of the flight, which includes the use of engine anti-ice and for takeoff and landing. In this case, if you have auto ignition as yes, and you keep these switches in the auto position, they automatically choose continuous in case you have the flap extended below 18,000 feet, or anytime you have this engine anti-ice switches to the on position. So that changes a little bit for the pilots. So when they have to use engine anti-ice, they don't really need to turn engine start switch to continuous before turning them on, and after they turn the engine anti-ice to off, they don't need to put them back to off, because the auto position is going to do it automatically. It will not move the switch itself, but in the auto position, Boeing says that the system is already in the continuous mode for these two cases, when you have engine anti-ice on, or anytime you have the flaps deployed below 18,000 feet, which is also your takeoff and landing configuration. Anyhow, most of the companies, they don't have all the fleet with the auto position. So most of the companies, they still ask their pilots to choose continuous in flight or before takeoff and landing for every flight, even on the airplanes equipped with the auto position. Okay, they do this because they don't want the pilots to forget to take them to continuous in case they are flying one airplane without the auto option. So now it's up to you if you want to keep them with the auto position or not, and if in the auto, if you have the auto position, if you want to force the system into continuous mode or not, in case you are taking off, landing, or using engine anti-ice. What I personally do, I keep the auto ignition as yes, but I still move the engine start switches to continuous as needed, just to not lose the habit and always check for this type of configuration. The fourth option for today is the pressurization panel, also with the option of the new and the old one. So let's start with the old one, and once again, overhead panel. When you come here to the old one, you will see that the pressurization mode selectors, they are like this. You have this layout, and the main difference are the displays itself and including the valve display. So this is the old version for the 737s, and if you take them to the new version, then you will see a difference, especially related to the outflow valve, that this pointer is digital now. Okay, so if you take this to the manual and then you can move, you will see that this is a digital pointer instead of the old analog pointer. Okay, this is the old analog pointer itself. Okay, so this basically changes to the new version, especially for the outflow valve switch, and it also changed the digit a little bit from the old model to the new model. Some airplanes, they even have these switches based on the autopilot switches. If you saw the first video of this series, you already know you can choose between the Collins and the Honeywell autopilot, and you will see that some airplanes, they still have these selections in the orange color, just like the MCP. But for you to have the digital outflow valve switch indication, you need to set pressurization panel to the new one. And one more time, I'm going to show you, oops, here, this is the digital switch. Of course, it doesn't really like digital for you in the sim itself, but you can see that this is not pointed anymore. On the real plane, you can clearly identify that this is a digital representation of your outflow valve. Okay, so not a big deal. Choose the one that you like the most. It's almost like a visual indication. And also a visual indication is our fifth equipment for today, which are the window shades as yes or no. If you take them to no, and then you look to your to any of your side windows, you will not see the shades there, okay? And if you click on window shades to yes, then you will see installed some window shades. These are the window shades, and then if you click on them, you will have the window shades deployed. This one goes up, okay? So it's up to the pilots to choose them between retracted or extended. So you have the option to select them. Usually on the sun side, we keep them on, and in flight, we keep them on all the time during day flights to have a cooler cockpit and less light, because it's really bright up there, especially when you're flying above the clouds, for sure. Another option that this adds is this shade. So this shade, when you click on it, it will go here on the corner, and then there is a rail here that it goes all the way to the front. Okay, this rail continue all the way until this position here, and then you can move this shade as you like. So if you are landing with or taking off with the sun ahead of you, you can use this shade. And of course, during the flight, anytime you want to block a little bit the sun, the same thing for the left side. Let me go on the FO side, and then it's stored like this on the corner. If you click on it, again, automatically at the corner, at the back, oops, and then you can move it as you like all the way to the end of the rail, left or right. Anytime you don't want them anymore, just click on the handle and it will go back to the stored position. Okay, so this one again, and to remove the shades itself, just click on the handle and the shades will be removed. Okay, of course, let me show you from outside. If you have the shade, like I just put on the left side one of them, if you are outside of the plane, you will see that they reflect outside as well. As you can see, I have the shade on my forward side window on the left side of the airplane. Okay, so guys, this concludes our video about system options. Maybe the window shades, they should be on the visual options, but because they are on this list, on this sequence on the Pmdg menu, I decided to keep it to this video. So I hope now you understand and can choose, especially between the auto probe heat for yes or no, auto ignition for yes or no, and the cutoff switch style to the new and the old one. So it's up to you to choose. Just remember the slightly details that I told you, how to operate those system in a normal flight. Like it, click the like button below, subscribe to this channel, share this video with your friends, and use the comments below for any doubt or comment that you may have. Thank you guys, see you, bye bye.